like honestly, there's nothing more awkward than like Zoom classes, right? Zoom lectures are fine, right? Because it's just the guy talking. It's still, I think it's more awkward for them, like the person giving the lecture. But Zoom classes where you're meant to, it's like it's the worst thing ever. It fucking sucks so much dick. A bit like, that's the transition. Oh god, it's so fucking awkward.
Welcome
to. We just need to lay it all out, don't we?
The Bear Vision podcast, where this week we are, and you have been lied to. We are very much not going to talk about Deep Rock.
Well, until like the end.
Yeah,
but once we've exhausted all the Halo Infinite talk.
Because I feel like, first of all, we're kind of running light on actual podcast ideas.
That's not true. It's not.
Yeah, but like the one we wanted to do next was the events podcast. Meanwhile, it'll be a lot more relevant to do next week. So we're like, what can we do this week? And we came to the idea of let's just rant about Halo because that's what everyone else is doing on YouTube. Yeah. So that works out.
Well, obviously we need to address who might be watching this. First of all, if you're like a Barrel Vision subscriber, I hope you like Halo or don't like Halo. I hope you feel a certain way about Halo, basically.
I hope you agree with the general Halo consensus.
I think there's a decent chance that most people who play Deep Rock have played a Halo game.
Yeah, but even the people that made Deep Rock play Halo.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean much. That doesn't mean the player base necessarily. It's like there are obvious. I mean, they're both first-person shooters, but that's not really the case. Anyway, but if you're here from because this is a Halo video, don't expect informed takes, right? This isn't an analysis. This isn't a video essay, right?
Well, it's just in line. It's going to be one of the. No, this is just one of those videos that is just a thing because this is why I know about it. Just because people just keep releasing like really short or like really long videos on how shit Halo is, and like 343 and all that. And this is just going to be another one of those. So if you like sitting there and listening to people complain,
we're just piling more on. Well, yeah, but we're not. The video itself, isn't outwardly anti Halo. I mean, your takes will be, but I mean, like looking at the video, it's not going to be like. The video is not going to be. It's a podcast. It's not going to be titled "Halo Infinite Sucks Dick," and
I mean, we that's what we did for the DRG one. But
that's
I feel
actually,
like
but that was
that is also
very
something
playful and was preceded by like over a dozen positive Deep Rock podcasts.
Yeah, and that's something I kind of want to put out there as well. Like this is also because we've been kind of negative towards Deep Rock, like generally recently, and it's kind of because of Halo. Because as far as like the only other games I'm like watching or listening to, it's just pure negativity. So all this negative energy that Halo is exuding currently, I think is seeping into Deep Rock. When I think it's just
but not without reason. And
I think
but that's for later.
What we say about Deep Rock, I don't think is wrong, but I think the negatives are vastly inferior to the negatives that Halo provides, which we will get into.
It's also born out of worry because we don't want Deep Rock to make. Well, it's arguably making the same mistakes, but not
the
for different reasons.
Mistakes.
In the context of Deep Rock, they're not necessarily mistakes, right? There's a big difference between the games from a developmental standpoint. Anyway, I think what we should do is probably sort of outline our relationship to the Halo franchise.
I am a passerby who took one look and played like a couple games of like I think because we played MCC together and I saw I probably played one game and did like all of them. Right, we even played like a bit of story at some point, and I do not like Halo as like even the good ones. I just find them clunky, unattractive, and boring, and that allows me to shit on Halo just without the sorrow that a lot of other people are.
So Tyler's a disliker, but would you because I wouldn't call you a hater, but maybe for Infinite specifically, I think you lean more towards hater.
Well, the thing is, though, Harry, is I don't agree with that because I completed the Halo Infinite campaign,
Yeah.
which I couldn't stomach any of the other campaigns. I think it helps that it was, open world. That's always just a bit more appealing generally. But I don't know, the gameplay, which is also we'll go for cover the positives quickly. The campaign is passable, especially if it's your first Halo campaign. I think it is a pretty nice introduction to at least their now current version of Master Chief and all that
okay,
stuff.
so honestly, I think the campaign it's a bright spot, but it's also still kind of a low compared to
Past
the
ones.
Bungie stories.
Yeah.
However, this will be the biggest praise I'm probably ever going to give Halo Infinite. It actually has the best characterization of the Chief by far in the entire franchise.
I think it's kind of because he's an actual character, which is what they wanted to avoid.
Yeah, but he's an actual character, but in the way that he's still closer to the originals. They tried to give him too much. They tried to humanize him too much in Halo 4 and 5. Infinite, yeah, well, but the thing is, Infinite, it feels more like the original Chief, just with more character. It doesn't feel like they tried to humanize him too much. He just has because he only really has one moment that's very human, and it's him. It's not like because Halo 4 and 5, he's very emotional, right? In Infinite, he's more responsive to the pilot, who's the emotional wreck, basically. Chief's like stone cold, but he still can be sympathetic. In Halo 4 and 5, Chief was it was too much of his own emotion coming out. So I think Halo Infinite actually nailed writing for the Chief, and also just the look of the Chief. By the way, best Chief design in the entire franchise by far, right? And yeah, visually as well. Well, that's part of the visuals and aesthetics are decent. It's really become soured because there's so little variety, though, right? Because going into Halo
I think carries
Infinite,
over.
Yeah, going into Halo Infinite though, it was like, oh, this is like in terms of art style, this feels like a very good course correction from 4 and 5, and I think 4 and 5 they look alright. They don't look so much like Halo, but there's still a lot of distinct designs and visual variety. Like the designs in Halo Infinite are good, but the multiplayer maps, there's only it's all just the same basically. It's all just the same human architecture or the same foreign architecture. In the only one that's stands out is Behemoth, where it's a desert and it's a big monolith in the middle of a vast desert, which was pretty cool, but it's still the same architecture as well. And they need more. They need more map. They need more visual variety of the maps. I mean, the Spartans are a bit of a weird case because they arguably didn't go far enough, even though it's the least Halo that the Spartans have been, arguably, because they have things like the Yoroi armor core, which is samurai, but that's because it's from a different
I haven't
universe.
even paid attention. Yeah, but that kind of stuff is interesting in concept, but no one wanted shit from a different universe being pulled in. They just wanted the universe they're currently in to be good.
Now, I agree with that, but I don't agree with the first half of that. I actually do think it's cool where it's it is a what if basically for Halo.
Yeah,
but the universe is completely revamped, right?
What if is something you do later down the line, for example in Marvel. It's not something that's the first thing you do with the game.
Yeah, but Tyler,
right?
Halo
Infinite,
yeah, but
welcome to the universe.
It's something that could have been done with Halo at this time, and it had been done. Halo Legends, which is the anime, the anthology film, where it's just a bunch of animated shorts, which you should watch, by the way. I mean, you specifically, Tyler. Yeah.
Just because I watch anime, is that the only reason you're saying this, Harry?
Yes. Obviously.
Fair enough.
But I think one of them, and it's the best one, and it's the only one that isn't actually canon as well, is animated by I think it's animated by Bones. Actually, I think it is. Yeah, and it's really ridiculous and funny and good. That whole thing is actually good. Halo Legends is really cool, and that was basically a what if, kind of. It wasn't like what if the Master Chief was like a squid or something, but it was just like random. It was just random stories from around like the Halo universe that you wouldn't see in the games because they're too
like the books.
They're too, yeah, it's more like it's a bit like the books as well. But the books actually, there's a lot of Master Chief focused books.
Yeah, they're like the worst ones.
But then there's like the books are like set like thousands of years ago.
There's a book that explains trilogy,
which is
like Guilty Spark.
He's like the character, and he's a human. So 343 Guilty Spark was a human called. I think actually I have the books on my shelf, so I can probably tell you his
Bonnie
name.
Ross.
Called Bonnie Ross. I think his name's Chakass. Anyway, it's pretty interesting though that they chose to name themselves after because 343 Industries is named after 343 Guilty Spark, which is a bit of a poor choice in my opinion, in terms of naming. I think it's just because they wanted a number that was familiar with Halo, but
didn't want to do the fucking iconic one.
No, but I can see why you wouldn't, frankly. Right, me. What do I think of Halo? Didn't get to that.
Right.
I would actually, honestly, I think I'm fairly confident, and it's because this isn't really saying much, but I'm probably the biggest Halo fan my age in England.
Oh my god. That's a statement.
Is it though? Yeah. Though? I don't think I get the feeling that Halo's not actually that popular in England. Like or ever. Well, I don't know why I feel that might be true, and I'm not the biggest fan. I'm far from the biggest fan in the world, and I'm not a massive fan either. I'm just not even a long-term fan either. Because actually, I'm not a fan at all. Well, no, we talked about this recently. Where I'm in a weird position when it comes to how like I'm a fan of Halo because I got introduced to it just before they switched over, like just before Halo got handed over to 343, right? So I was there for all that as it came out, like Halo 4 and 5, and I didn't think they were that. Actually, I didn't really play Halo 5. I played Halo 4. I thought it was awesome, and then I sort of learned quite quickly that it wasn't.
Yeah, because children don't have taste. That's just a fact.
Yeah, do you know? You know what? I'm going to do this right now. Children are stupid. Children are stupid because we're stupid. Apparently, our brains aren't fully developed yet either. But still, children are even further behind. Right? Children just don't have. They don't know what good things are. Right? Although I've come to appreciate Halo 4 for some of its own merit. Not the multiplayer though. Certainly not.
Yeah, well, I think the take is that 4's story isn't actually that bad.
4's story is good because I don't think they ruined the Chief too badly. But it's still a bit confusing. 343 it still wasn't a good start, unfortunately. Even if it ended up being agreed upon as not that bad of a game, it was a bad start. And you can all be traced back to there. God, where are we actually going to go with this? Because we need to get to Infinite. I need to get you going, basically. The goal of this.
Yeah, because basically, as I kind of alluded to at the beginning, if not directly said, I'm not quite sure. I've just been, while doing anything really, just been watching content that's just shitting on Halo. And while I feel I have no horse in this race at all, even at like Halo at its best, it's not anywhere close to my top 10. But it does come down to that if the game was good, I would probably play it. Because there are very few games that you can actually play with Harry. Not that you guys would know, but like he very little comes out of his like deep rock shell, and Halo is one of the few games where you can get to do that, and it's just not worth playing. So I'm
No.
for Halo Infinite being good, but it seems like 343 is doing everything in their power to make sure that that isn't the case. And I
Well,
see everything in their power, but they don't have much power because for
also
some
not
reason,
intentionally, right? Because I think I want to move this straight towards actually the most, technically not the most recent news, but the most recent. I was about to say most recent big news, but that's not true either because obviously Bonnie was leaving is big news. But I mean like the update, as in
right?
by update, what they actually mean is like a status update.
That was the thing.
So can I just point out, 343 are really stupid in how they word like everything, because they called it like the August update. What? No, it's not an update, is it? It didn't. They didn't even do like the easy thing, call it development update or like status update or status report or something. Development update is what it should have been called, but it's just called like the August update, and that's when they broke the news, right? Of season 3 being delayed. But also of them doing a winter update as an actual content update in November.
Which, if we want to tie it back to Deep Rock for a second, Deep Rock it didn't do that. We're getting season 3 on basically around the time they said they would.
Yeah, but the thing is, that's the thing, isn't it? Because we got season 2 of Halo Infinite and Deep Rock basically at the same time, same week, I think. Not the same day, but I think it was actually the same week. No, it was the same week because Halo was on Tuesday and Deep Rock was on Thursday, right?
Well, I bet that was a good week for you.
Yeah, not really, because I wasn't particularly enthused about anything in Halo.
Yeah,
from season 2.
Deep Rock probably added more content, but definitely added more content.
And the reason I wanted to bring up that update, all that news, was because for some reason that is unbeknownst to me, that's the straw that broke the camel's back, which to me indicates that everyone is now saying things like Fire 343, which is a movement that I see where it comes from, but I'm not even going to say I don't support it, but I'm not part of it, right? But I don't understand why it's this that tipped things over. I think
once again, I think it wasn't that straw broke the camel's back, but I think that straw for some reason made people realise that camel has been dead under a pile of hay for like the last 10 years.
The camel's back had already been broken, but for some reason they hadn't realised.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I gleaned more positivity from that than anything else, and I think that's because not that I'd given up on the game necessarily, but I moved on from Halo Infinite basically. Like I wasn't. It's it being good or its development going well has for a while now not been important to me, right? And I get the feeling that everyone who's actually angry was actually had hope still. For some reason, that must be it, right? I'm not angry because I already accepted that things probably weren't going to turn out great.
Thing is, though, is that as so far, 343 has shown nothing but an inability to do basically everything they have ever said ever, or what should be expected from them.
Well, when it comes to promises broken, that's very specific actually to Halo Infinite.
But I think you gotta kind of say that, like, as far as 343 goes, the actual update, not update, but like what they say they're going to add to the update, that's the best thing they've had to show. That's like the most significant things. Like the fact that they're, actually adding Forge somewhat soon, admittedly beta, and admittedly not with the custom thing server, whatever that is. I mean, that's like, what, if you make a game mode, you can't actually spread it yet.
No. This is that, you idiot. Because I've already explained this to you. So there's two things that are important to the custom games / Forge community. Well, community, I guess everyone's part of that. But there's these two very important features: file share and the custom games browser. File share is is a place where you can upload a mode or a map that you've created that people can take You know, they can download it or save it and play that mode or map. And that file share will be coming in November with Forge. And then, but the custom games browser is like a server list basically of open lobbies of custom games, right?
So the convenient part.
Yeah, the part that you want, because that's what allows random people who don't know each other to come together in unofficial modes.
Yeah.
So that part not coming with Forge is another big hit. But yeah, I mean, looking at what's actually coming, it's not, you know, we don't have to wait that long for the winter update. And even though it's still a fairly big gap from the winter update to season 3, it's 5 months, not 6 months. And then, now this is very important to me because I watched the video that they made around when they did this update. Is that the part of the point of delaying season 3 was so that the gap between season 3 and 4 can be shorter, and that sounds like arbitrary, but it's also leads on to the gap between all seasons after that being shorter as well, because they think that they're confident that by then they'll actually be able to get them out, you know, every 3 months, which I guess I can see why people might have glossed over that, because it probably it's probably going to fall through again, isn't it? It's probably not going to be.
That's the thing.
True.
Is that like people looked at that, and I think we looked at it, and we were like, okay, this is still nowhere near enough, but at least it's something. But people saw that list of updates, and people, true fans that have been intact and talking about it, and you know. But like they saw that, and they saw it for what it truly is, which is everything they've released before. It is just a page of lies. It's just like probably Forge beta probably will happen because they've got it under the beta title, so that doesn't really matter.
They have also started doing videos on it, like explaining Forge, like in preparation. Like it's clear that there's a version of Forge that is complete in some capacity.
Yeah,
it's going to be a beta,
and it doesn't even have to be that complete as long as they've got it under the beta title. So that like a version of Forge is likely, right? But then people saw like basically everything else. It's like, yeah, nah, they probably won't add that in that amount of time. Like that's not happening. It's a lie. That's just not true. And then
but it didn't. There's so much that there's no reason why that can't be the case, right? Because I haven't heard anyone actually in a comprehensive way actually break down all of the features that they said they're going to be adding and explain why they think this won't be added in time. It's all of like the weird stuff that doesn't get added, right? It's things like campaign co-op. That's the kind of stuff that gets cut, right? But it's not like they're going to have to delay the 2 maps that they've already made in Forge that are coming in the winter update, right?
I think
all the 2 maps that look finished for season 3, or the weapon and the equipment item that have been found in the code and are done. There's no way they won't be out in season 3. It's just so. What I don't see how this stuff could actually get delayed.
That's going to be the people. The person that I watched, they were like, "Yeah, no, these probably aren't going to be out when they say they are."
What, the bandit rifle?
Like, yeah,
the bandit rifle that's just a DMR from the previous games without a scope, by the way, and is seemingly complete. Because data miners have got their hands on it, and it's like, this is literally a finished weapon. So,
well, if it's already a finished weapon, why isn't it in the game?
Because otherwise, season 3 will be even more empty. That's why.
Well, the thing is, though, is that it's just you can't rationalize their decisions. Like we're trying to right now, but like you just can't. And I think the main example of this, and I think this is actually a physical straw that you could see breaking an actual camel's back, their cancellation of split screen campaign.
That might have been actually. Sorry, I glossed over that. To be fair, yeah.
Yeah, that decision is. Oh, I the thing is, no one cited it at the time because everyone was too busy looking at the update to really notice it. Like everyone already called it a day of that, but then it kind of ruptured out of that they had cut that content, and that actually hurt people.
Yeah, and it's because it's the most official broken promise, isn't it? Because they literally cancelled it, and it's been promised for years.
So many reasons that is the worst thing they could have possibly done. First things first, it was like quoted that like someone basically, which they never actually specified what split screen, but they were like basically like, I think split screen wasn't actually in a game at some point, right? And then they had to like kind of add it later. And after that, I think it might have been Betty Ross or whatever, like just some
Bonnie
higher
Ross.
up. But that's the one. Yeah, I mistake. Someone high up said that us not adding split screen that betrayed the community, and from now on there will always be split screen.
So
and now they never
The
specified.
guy who said that is Chris Lee. He was creative lead on Halo 4 and 5, and he left about halfway through Infinite's development.
Sure, but it's still like it was foundational code that they acknowledged as a company, right? Because it was him that said it, but as a company, that is saying that like we broke your trust, and to give it back, we are gonna like always have split screen, and then they removed it. So that's the first tick, right? The first thing that like as a company they said they would never remove that content.
Yes.
That was the first one. Second of all, they straight up promised it, right? Like it was a promised content, right? I'm not wrong on that, right? They said they were going to add split screen campaign. That was just a thing,
so
right?
The second one here is technically more valid, because I'm going to be a piece of shit here. That very initial statement was just about split screen in general. You can play split screen multiplayer in Infinite.
But that thing is, they also never specified the multiplayer. They were speaking generally in that like they both are just as important in their opinion. I think you can split it both ways. You can either say, technically they never stated that it needed to be just in, or they needed to be in both. But you could also take it that both are just important in each other and should be both added, which they decided to just not do. Which, the second thing is that, not only is it a long-term promise broken, it's a short-term promise where literally, it was like the day after it was supposed to come out, they announced that it was cancelled.
It feels like this has happened multiple times, but I don't think it has happened. It might have happened at the most one other time when they've done something like this, but it's so like it feels so wrong and so scheming.
Like literally,
where it's like a day after something was meant to come out, they announce it's cancelled or delayed.
They waited until like people were literally like they were probably the day of. People were sitting there with like their children, right? Because that's the argument you hear, that there are some like because the fan base of Halo are like adult men now that have children, and they wanted to play the new Halo's campaign with their child.
Yeah, I want to do that. That's a bit dodgy, actually. I'm not going to make that joke. That's really dodgy.
That's like the main thing, and they waited until the day after. So the day that this father was expecting to have the experience of a lifetime with their child, they waited the day after that to tell them that it's not happening ever, to cancel it.
Yeah, all right, but that specific scenario, I don't think there was. It's not a massive amount of people, but that's not the point. That's not the point. The point is, and I've forgotten it. Can you hear that?
A little bit. Point is,
I'm so sorry, everyone.
They like straight up just like waited until not even the very last second. People were waiting until the very last second. The very last second arrived, and they were like, "Okay, why isn't the content here?" They're probably like, "Okay, they're doing the usual thing. They just lied, and it's going to take longer than they thought." And then the day after, they were like, "Nah, not happening. It's not happening." And so basically, that is just the worst way of saying it. It's like agreeing to go somewhere with someone, and the person arrives there, and they wait like an hour, and then you tell them that you weren't coming in the first place, right? Like if you told them before, it wouldn't have been as bad, right? Because the expectations weren't there, the effort wasn't there. But they waited until after to just say nah.
Sounds like you're speaking from the heart.
No, that's my biggest fear though, but it's never actually happened.
So
although I have done that.
My problem with this the split screen co-op thing is not like my reaction to it, because I didn't really have a reaction. I'm not actually bothered by that. We were never going to play the campaign in the same room, right?
Yeah, that's the thing.
But
most people aren't that bothered, really, like, obviously it goes down to the people like that, the fathers that wanted to play with their children, or just like mates that live together, stuff like that. People like that, it actually inconveniences. But then it's also the people that got into
And they were
Halo
roommates.
via that feature.
Yes. So
Via that
okay.
feature, which I think is the same for, I think, Critical, like Moist Critical, because he's been doing some Halo videos.
yeah.
I think he
Oh,
said
yeah.
that was his experience.
We can put them in the tags
and-
now. We can put.
yeah.
Right.
Like, yeah.
But that's not so. On principle, I agree, because you're talking more about the principle of them, a thing that is important to Halo and that they promised. Now, I agree with that, but that's not why I take issue with it. I take issue with it because the reason that split screen campaign was delayed or cancelled is because they needed to allocate resources to, you know,
Vague
the live
elsewhere.
service, right?
Yeah.
And here comes the problem. Halo Infinite should probably not have been a live service game.
Now, I would like to get into this more, but I want to finish off the points of why that was so bad, because there's the third one, which I think that is a point and a half itself. But the third point is that it's in the game.
Oh yeah. Like people can have glitched it into happening.
Campaign split screen is a thing that works perfectly in the game. It's literally there, and they've just removed it for some reason, and that is why they betrayed so many people and hurt themselves, their company, their games, and their audience for this decision, which seemingly they didn't even need to make. It's in the game. They could have just released it,
Yeah.
but they've cut it.
So this
They've
is where
hurt
my
everyone
this is
for
where
no reason.
yeah, this is where my issue with that August update comes from. Is that it's basically them saying we're throwing everything at the live service now, right? So oh okay cool. So we're never gonna get like campaign DLC. That's lovely. Not that I said that, but like people pretty confident. Like you know, I watch a lot of Chris Raygun, and he streams a lot, right? And he basically plays Halo Infinite all the time because he just likes the gameplay that much. But he knows this shit game. He's bitching about it like all the time, right? And then people say in chat, "Hey Chris, when do you think we're going to get like Halo Infinite like campaign DLC?" And it's just like don't even think about that. It's never going to happen.
Well, because that's the thing. It's because like, they pulled
the only
resources.
reason they're confident in that they're going to get like regular seasons is probably because they're pulling all resources into that now.
Well, the thing is that they actually specify what the resources they were pulling out for?
No, but the fact that they had to like redistribute the people who were working on essentially a finished feature to the live service.
The
multiplayer in general, right? The multiplayer in general.
Multiplayer. So there is an argument that they pulled out of this feature to then work on the, let's be honest, Battle Royale game mode that they are working on. So
No, that's not likely because 343 aren't developing that. It's a different studio, which is why that's probably it's still taking a fucking long time, but like it's probably going to be good.
But, like, I don't know what else. They pulled a feature that is at the heart and core of the fan base, and they hurt everyone, including themselves, by making this decision.
And you apparently.
No, I don't care at all. But I like getting heat up over this because it's just wild that this is like an actual company that exists. But like they made such a fundamentally, stupidly evil decision, right?
Woo!
And for seemingly nothing, because nothing they could have allocated these people to would equal this mistake. Nothing. And I don't know how they can justify it.
So,
Forge is already coming out. It doesn't need any more people, right? Co-op campaign as a whole, nobody expects that soon. Unless obviously it was going to actually take longer than they thought, so they've cut co-op split screen so they can add co-op campaign, which would be fair enough. But also co-op split screen's a thing, so it's still kind of weird. But like, sure. But I don't see any other feature that these people could work on that would equal this.
You know what? I'm going to come out with a wild take, right? I think there might have been less backlash if they cancelled co-op entirely. And that's because it's they might have had to lie to get around this, but the point is, obviously, Halo Infinite's co-op is a different beast. Not just because clearly they've had a lot of issues. Like the company is in a bad place when it comes to just being able to do things, and obviously the development wasn't good. But it's also a very different type of game to previous Halo games. Like fundamentally, it functions differently. The campaign, right? So my point is that if they can do multiplayer at all, I don't see the reason why they can't be split screen. Which
Especially
is why,
when it's already here.
Exactly. Maybe it wouldn't have lessened the blow, but I think there would have been a different response if they cancelled co-op entirely.
The thing is, though, is that I can't disagree or agree, because I think you're right, but I don't think there's any response that could be more negative that's already occurring.
Yeah.
Everyone is boycotting them as a company, wanting them to be demolished, or at least the management to be changed. No one's playing the game, and everyone that is refusing to give them money, because that's the only real way you can get your voice across to companies. Like, there's not much more the fan base could be doing to spitting in the face of 343. So even if they did remove co-op, like, as an entire thing in the campaign, which, to be honest, I could see that being fair enough. Because then that would be a lot more resources to reallocate to the actual multiplayer, right? Like, I assume there is a very large team working on making the campaign co-op. And at least if there is no way of playing the campaign co-op, everyone could just give up on the campaign. No DLCs, no, because that's just it. They just need, this game is in no state of any way of playing. Just cutting off the campaign would have been the barbaric and unnecessary way, but I think it would have been the smarter decision than just cutting split screen for some reason.
It's so sad though, isn't it? For me, that we're probably not going to get campaign DLCs. I mean, there is supposedly another game that's being worked on. I don't know how that's happening. And I assume it's not a sequel or like, you know, a reboot or anything. I assume it's another spin-off, which honestly, if they can pull it off, I do want to see another Halo spin-off because they're the best ones for me, right?
Yeah.
Halo 3 ODST was, so Joe Staten, who's the current creative director of Halo Infinite, he was the writer on all of the Halo games, except the 343 ones. And he hasn't been able to write for Infinite either, because the campaign was basically done from a story perspective, but he still came on to spank everyone.
Of course, correct.
But he wrote all of the Bungie games, and he was a creative lead on ODST, which is my favourite game of all time, right? And it's a spin-off as well. So I honestly wish that he'd be able to do something like that. I mean, a sequel to ODST, first of all, which is something that Halo fans really want.
Now, the issue is...
But he's stuck in this role where he's a creative lead of a product that doesn't have much soul, right?
The issue
is a live service.
Is that now... I'm not sure how confirmed any of this is, but if they are working on another game, right, and say it's a spin-off and it's good, then hooray. Say it's literally another Halo game because they realised Infinite wasn't working, so they're just trying to make a new one behind the scenes secretly. Say any of this is the case, or it's like another Halo Wars. That means that they took away split screen to get people resources while making another game, which I assume will have a lot more resources. So they just kind of pulled out of Halo Infinite to work on another game. This is hypothetical, if it does come out that they are and have and all that. They've kind of given up on Halo Infinite, but are still pretending that they cut these features because they didn't have enough people, where they do have enough people, but they're just not willing to invest any more over the future games that might actually earn a profit because Halo Infinite's dead. Basically, if they release any new game, it just kind of implies that they could have added split screen, but they just didn't feel like it, which is especially reinforced by the fact it exists. Mm-hmm. It's just a mind-boggling decision that you really can't wrap your head around, which is basically 343's decisions all the time. Just generally, it's as a company, why in God's name would you add only one form of progression that is then only really guided by doing specific things in the game? That's the worst possible progression system in any game.
Oh yeah,
and
okay.
is that
Yeah,
the only one
progression
you've
system,
added?
right? So this is, however, one of the things where I don't quite understand, like the how thorough the negativity is, right? Like to stay in the lane of you can respond to like individual issues, right? There should be backlash for them cancelling a feature, right? But you can't just completely ignore the good. If you don't care, that's fine, right? But I care, tangentially. I mean, I'm not riding on Halo. My happiness isn't riding on Halo Infinite's success, but I still want it to get better, right? So I do look at the things that they're doing that could be good. So, for example, in the winter update, they're going to be adding, supposedly adding like a career progression system, where you have like actual ranks.
Beta.
And the beta, so that's crazy, right? That it's crazy, it's fucking nuts, right? But it's still should be a good thing. It's crazy that it wasn't there from the beginning. It's crazy that it has to be a beta, right? But it still could be a good thing.
It is, and I really don't like. Oh shit! I really don't like giving them the benefit of the doubt. But I'll give whoever, I don't know what his name is, but the guy that they hired, like, to
Tyler,
kind of fix the game.
We're giving the benefit of the doubt by not actually boycotting them.
Yeah, I suppose. But, like, I'm giving the single fellow that they hired to try and fix the fucking dog shit of a game that
I suppose.
had.
So you mean Joe Staten, not the recent replacement?
I think whoever they hired, who like immediately turned to them and said, "I need 2 years."
Yeah,
I need
that's
2 years.
Joe Staten. Joe Staten's is a boss. He's the best.
And then they were like, "No, 1," and even that we're not fond of because we wanted you to pitch it with the Xbox.
I think
two
right? would have been enough because that would have given him time to reorient things. They wouldn't have been making the game the same way they are now if it wasn't out. Right?
Yeah, well,
so it would be in a completely different direction.
2 years is kind of what we should take this winter update to be. This winter update would have been like, so on his ideal launch, he would have had Forge, and he would have had an actual other progression system.
I think those are the two biggest things that he would have made sure we're in. Yeah,
which
definitely.
Makes me think, because like, wasn't it? It was just a wild theory that the person they hired to add a progression system, they like fired, and he like took everything with him, basically.
I don't know. I don't know.
I think that was legitimate, but I think there is a chance that he noticed that there probably wasn't another progression system in Halo Infinite, and so when he got on, he started, actually trying to add that, and it's taken him about this long.
Can I just say, right? There's a lot of problems with the progression system. Number one, the lack of it, because it's entirely based around you don't actually have a level. It's just your battle pass level. I'm
going to be honest with you, Harry. I don't generally like Halo as a game, but the progression on Halo Infinite is what makes me never play it.
Yeah,
like the complete emptiness that is finishing
I'm
a game.
Why it's bad, right?
Yeah.
So two, it's this is I think it's really, you can really just put it down to one thing. It's entirely focused around the battle pass and challenges, right?
Yeah.
And this would be fine if it wasn't the only way, right? I don't think it would have even been a problem that it's actually you can only progress the battle pass through challenges if you had a normal progression system that was based on match performance.
Like most of these ideas I'm spewing are just from videos.
It would have been cool if you have two different progression systems that function differently, but it's just the one, and it's bad.
That is actually the exact thing that I was spouting like on the week of us playing when it came out. I don't take credit for like any of these other opinions I had, but that was my main issue. Like the only one that I could even put my finger on. Like a lot of them were coming out at the time, but like. The fact that the only progression system is the battle pass is dumb, or season pass, whatever, is dumb, but it's tolerable. But then the fact that no matter how well or poorly you perform, it does not affect anything at all. You can go 0 and 12 and just die constantly, and you will get rewarded the exact same for the guy that went like 40 and 0. Right, you'll get the same amount of XP. I think I'm pretty sure, like coming out of a mission, and if that 0 and 12 somehow did like a challenge, then he'll in fact gain more. Like if it's just played the right mission, then he'll get more out of it, which I found wild. Also useful because I was the person going 0 and 12, but I still found wild.
Let's bring up. I want to bring up Deep Rock again briefly because Deep Rock is probably like one of the masters of just having like loads of like multiple progression systems, which is something we don't talk about enough. I think it's actually one of the best examples of having multiple progression systems in a game, because the way the battle pass functions in Deep Rock, or the performance pass, I guess, is actually pretty similar to Infinite. But then again, I think every battle pass has challenges. And
I think
you have a roughly fixed amount, right? The amount that you get from just the base, just doing missions in Deep Rock, like XP for the pass, it's fairly rigid. It's like between like 900 to 1800, and it doesn't really go beyond or below that, does it? It's like even like the longest mission is not going to get you that much more normal. So it's mostly,
normally get about 12k.
The challenge is the main way that you get through that, but also the random events. But that's because Deep Rock is not a PvP game, obviously. So you can
which is also why this is the thing as well, because like once again, like in Halo, the only real way is like winning. That's like kind of like I'm not sure if you actually gained more or less for winning the game. I don't even think that was the case, but
no.
like more often than not, challenges required you to win.
Yeah.
So like it's just like you have no stake in like earning like you can do as best as you can, but your team will still lose, and you won't get any more XP of the other team, and you also won't complete your challenges, which is probably also, this is something that I want to pass over, but it's worth mentioning. For seasonal challenges, will force you to play a single player game tons to get through the season pass. It will force you to stop playing with your friends.
This is awesome, by the way, because what modes is it though? Because obviously it's free for all.
Lone Wolf, I think. It was like a Lone Wolf game mode or some shit.
It was, so that's, oh shit, I've actually forgotten the name of it. I don't usually do this. Last Spartan Standing, right?
Yeah.
You can't play them, that's a free-for-all mode. So you can't play the free-for-all modes with friends, basically. Which is just endemic to the issue of Infinite being like an anti-social game, basically, where Halo is a social game.
Which I think if we're ever going to... I think it was Actman, right? He did a video on this. Yeah. And I think it's more than we can say or have time to get into. But
even me, because I was never that big into this aspect anyway, so...
It's just the further and further you look into this game, on surface level, it doesn't have enough content, right? That's like anyone that just loads up the game or like looks at the fan base, that's like the take for the game. Why you shouldn't play Halo Infinite? It doesn't have enough content.
I don't think it's actually that. I don't think it's that anymore, to be honest.
The iceberg.
Not anymore.
What do you mean not anymore?
It's not like it has a minuscule amount of content. And I think the things that people shifted towards pointing out as being wrong with it shifted from that. I think we're more pointing at the people working on it, which I don't really like doing.
Yeah, but it's
the foundational issues.
We're pointing at them, saying you're not adding enough stuff, right? Like, I think the core of what has always been and still is the main issue with the game is that there isn't enough to it. Originally, it was like for a normal game, there was not enough content, not enough maps, not enough actual stuff.
Well, that's the thing, game modes. The winter update, because that's when if Joe Staten had gotten his 2-year delay, that would have been when the game would come out. And the winter update almost feels like a season 0 because it's bringing Forge, right? We should have been there from launch, but it's also not like a full battle pass. It's like a 30-tier battle pass. It's also free. That feels like a season 0 type ordeal, doesn't it? And the fact that they sort of see season 3 as sort of the beginning almost, or a new beginning, it tells me that Joe Staten has essentially tried to force his 2-year delay anyway, by being like, we're starting now. But unfortunately, that just doesn't sound good to most people, right? That they're only just getting things off the ground like a year and a half after launch.
The thing is that, like, once again, and this is not once again, I've never said it now, but like, games can come back from this. With the right company behind it, they can. No Man's Sky is evidence of that. No Man's Sky was fucking terrible when it came out. Revolutionary, admittedly, it won awards, but as a game, it was fucking unplayable. Yeah, but the problem was glitchy, it was boring, repetitive.
It's not like it's been reworked, you know?
No. The company behind it just added content. The content people wanted. They listened to the people. They just made the game that they wish they could but they didn't have enough time for, really. And I feel like we need to give 343 this, but we need to acknowledge that, I mean, Hello Games, who made No Man's Sky, they were a completely new indie team, stupidly small, nowhere near the size of what should have been able to make a game of No Man's Sky's size, but nonetheless they managed to pull it off given more time. 343 is not that. It is not. I mean, could you consider 343 an indie team? How many people are on it? Do we know it? How many?
I don't think we do, but it's like over 100.
Right, yeah, because Hello Games had like 30 at the beginning of making thing, which is I think about what we're looking at. Do we know Deep Rock?
How big the development team is?
Yeah,
I guess not.
I think we have
on
been
how
given a
accurate
number.
the credits are,
Right, but
because the credits might not be accurate still,
Point is, like, size indicates not quality but kind of speed, right? And
yes,
with 343 size,
3-4 speed, they're not really though, are they?
yeah, we should be looking at more speed, but once again, their quality isn't that bad.
No, actually, okay, this is the one thing that we should realistically give them. Unfortunately, there's still so many problems with the game that even the good stuff doesn't do much, and it still feels hollow. Like, it's not like any of the maps are actually bad. It's not like the weapon sandbox is fine. There's some pretty big stinkers, but
even
the gameplay
then,
is good. Like, the quality of the things they add is never actually bad, right?
Except for some things like game modes. I'm not sure how often. I mean, well, lack thereof. Really, I mean, is the main issue. But even then, the ones that they're adding, they're the kind of like weird ones, aren't they? Like, I mean, the fact that like
none of them are bad.
Yeah, none of them are bad, but they're never inherently adding what people should add.
Well, no,
as well.
Oddball was
That's
there
the
from the
issue.
beginning, though.
I know, which I find wild. It's fucking horrible.
It's a classic Halo mode. Not for me though. Not for me. I never played. Like, Infection was the cream of the crop.
Yeah, which they've still yet to add, which is my point. A different company would have added Infection almost immediately. Like, they should have added it anyway, but they would have realised, they probably had a idea that we're not going to be able to add all of the game modes. But they should have realised that the vast majority of the community is like Infection.
It's crazy to me though.
Give me Infection.
What's crazy though is that, like, because obviously there's sort of, I'm viewing the winter update as sort of like a new, kind of a new start, and I think it will be, especially the fact that it's bringing forward as well. But in terms of the modes they're adding in the winter update, right? Infection should have been number one, especially because it's like November 3rd, just like it's like almost immediately after Halloween, right? First of all, that's good. But second of all, what they're adding, one of the modes they're adding in the winter update is VIP, which is like a mode from like the older games. I don't think it was even in Reach. I think it's been absent for a while, but it's much simpler than Infection and nowhere near as popular. But it's like, so it's almost like they chose an old mode that they could very easily make, even though Infection's not that complicated, right? And
they're adding Forge, which, let's be realistic, within 2 to 3 days there's going to be an Infection game mode, if that. And even though people won't be able to hop onto it conveniently because there isn't the actual convenient menu, the fire will spread, and there will be just Infection like friends playlist. Like, I mean, there's probably going to be like actual people that are just befriend everyone that wants to play Infection, and then they just hop into games.
Yeah, there'll be like communities built. Like there'll be like a community like made like the custom games browser. They'll probably do it like through group posts or something. Yeah. There'll be like dozens of, like hundreds of group posts, just like Infection, and that's how you'll find Infection games.
Yeah, and it'll be really awkward. It'll be really awkward, and it will still be the most player base. Like, it's going to be most of the people playing Halo Infinite are just going to be playing on those servers of like the people just like running Infection that someone made in like 2 days on Forge. Just a single bloke that just did that. Do you want
to know something really sad? I'm not even even when Infection gets like announced for Infinite officially, I'm not going to be excited for it because I know they're going to muck it up in some way.
Yeah, and I think
Infection's always had certain variations that aren't as good. Like the like version is well, it's not actually alpha zombies, because the problem in Halo Reach, there's like a few variants of infection, and the normal infection, the zombies have the evade ability, which is where they can like roll like really far, basically, and it's like a dash basically. It's like a crazy dash, and they can just dash around. Zombies can move faster and jump higher, that's normal, but they had this really annoying thing they could do, which is why alpha zombies is always better. But I think in the games where you didn't have those abilities, like Halo 3, normal infection was just as good as alpha zombies. But they'll do some stupid, like, it'll be the playlist, right? The infection playlist will have like really horrible variants in it, I'm betting. That's what it's going to be. But like, this one, all the zombies have hammers and grappling hooks. It's like, what? No. Just you can have that kind of, but infection should be very dedicated. It should be a playlist that's just pure infection. But I feel like they're going to overcomplicate it in some way. Like the snipers thing. The sniper. There's no pure team snipers where you just have snipers. The snipers playlist. Well, that's fine. That's called shotty snipers, and that's fine. You put that in the plate, but to me, it's like you have just. They should have just done team snipers, which is when you just have snipers, and then the other playlist has all the weird variants where it's like, oh, in this one you have skewers and manglers, because it's like banished snipers or forerunner snipers or whatever. It's like those variants can exist, but they shouldn't. You should be able to play normal team snipers when you want to, because you've been able to before.
Wasn't it like are playlists a feature of Halo? Like, have they always just had playlists like that?
Yeah, playlists where they contain multiple modes or variants of the same mode.
Is it new that you can't just pick a single thing?
That's an interesting question, because I think the way Infinite's done it isn't actually like different necessarily. The way they've implemented certain modes is different, but like the structure is pretty much the same, right? Some modes are actually no, I don't think so. Like, because the quick play playlist is the only way to play, like, say, oddball. But you'd always, like, in previous games, you'd always be able to pick just oddball if you want to. Right?
Yeah. Which is just kind of a weird layer to just like. The thing is that that's like a thing as well. I think Axeman mentions it. Someone mentioned it, but like they just keep adding layers that prevents you from playing the game that you want to. Like, if by some God-given grace, they've added the content you want them to. There are so many unnecessary walls
that
always like prevents that from being
sucks.
Streamlined. Like, first of all, maybe it's like a 1 in 3 chance in a playlist. First of all, and then maybe you get on that game and you're having a whale of a time, and you come out of it and you're wanting to play with those people again or whatever. Like, boom, throws you out of the menu. You have to then go back in and then like research for the game, which is just another thing that like I'm pretty sure Admin mentioned that we're like, it's normally in Halo, and I've really experienced it, but I also kind of have. You kind of just join a game and like a lobby, and then you'll just play with them until like you're done.
Right, yeah, that's how games should be. That's how most PvP games were.
Yeah,
like
and then
I remember Black Ops 2 was like that. I mean, COD's always been like that. COD and Halo.
And I think it's actually wasn't in his Halo video. This is in like a trash talk video, because at that point you kind of then grow an attachment to your teammates, or just a rivalry
with the other guys,
with the enemies. Yeah, and it adds an extra layer. But fucking thing, he doesn't have it. Just throws you straight out of the lobby, and he makes the point that
the guys that you were with, and I don't know why.
Yeah, the game doesn't give you enough of a reason to go back into that menu and press for search again. Like, that amount of time gives you more than enough clarity to just stop playing the game. Even if it was way better than it is.
And it makes it doesn't give you any reason to keep playing. It doesn't make you. Well, it's not actually. That's not it. That's not what he was talking about. He wasn't talking about like it giving you a reason to keep playing. It doesn't make you feel like you want to keep playing.
It's just that, like, even if it was an amazing game, having to manually go in and out and in and out and in and out and in and out, or you get thrown out and then have to go back in manually, will just whittle you down, and eventually you won't do it. But like Halo Infinite is even worse in that regard, in that even if you can't bring yourself to keep doing that when there isn't any reason to. You don't get rewarded for your games because there's no actual good progression system, and if you don't like get 3 headshots with the burst rifle or whatever in like a certain game mode, unless that thing occurs, you don't actually get rewarded for playing.
Yeah.
And
Anyway,
it's just ridiculous.
back to the playlist thing though, where they sort of have some modes are locked into a certain playlist with other modes, like they're not on their own. The only example of this like being okay is in Infinite you have the playlist Rumble Pit, which is a thing that's been in Halo before, where it has a lot of like modes that are a bit less traditional, right? Something like Vampire Oddball or Ninja Slayer. It's the kind of thing that probably shouldn't have. It's like, because it's not the same as just normal Slayer or Team Deathmatch, right? Or just normal free for all. Like, this is like the fun playlist. It's meant to have all these sort of silly modes in it. Same with Action Sack is another one, where they sort of have dedicated sillier modes in them. And that's when it's okay to have modes locked to a certain playlist. But something like Oddball shouldn't be locked. Like quick play is the only, like I said, quick play is the only way to play Oddball, which is crazy. I think same with Strongholds and Attrition, which are what modes that they made, I think, for Infinite. And it's just like, and it's just stuck in here for some reason.
It's just from the foundation up. Like they've just made so many bad decisions, and I really can't see a future where they've remedied them all. Like, I'm sorry, but like, let's not even. I mean, we haven't even touched cosmetics, not even grazed the store and cosmetics.
Oh right, well the store, yeah,
fucked that is, and how you have to basically buy blue 7 separate times and all some shit.
Well,
like,
that's true. That's true. So the biggest problem actually with the cosmetics, I think, right? So the store is kind of inherent to the live service slash no, not the live service, the free to play part of it, because Deep Rock is live service, but it doesn't have a store because you have to buy the game. But obviously we have a store, but that's sort of, I need to, not that I forgive it, because I would rather just pay for the game and then I can unlock cosmetics in the game without paying for them, right? But the actual biggest issue, aside from the store, is that like the other, like the base armor cores, like the first 2 they added, which is like the default, up to date one that's like in lore. This is what all the Spartans in Halo Infinite would wear. The Mark 7, and then also the Mark 5, which is from Reach. Those 2, you have like the plain colours at least, right? So the coating system is bad, first of all, but at least with these 2 cores, you have the plain colours. The problem came in where with things like the Samurai core, or even like the new like baseline core, like the Rakshasa or the Eagle Strike one, you don't just have base colours to pick from. It's all either weird ones, or when you do have like a base one, like for example on the Yoroi, the Samurai one, like something like literally plain red is one that you would have to have gotten from the store. That's the problem. I mean, coatings,
and red's
though,
a pretty obvious color for that, and that's a samurai one, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
but the coating system is the problem when it comes down to it. In that it's not just like you don't just have like color schemes and then you pick like your primary and secondary color. It's like you're locked into these patterns.
And the issue is that there isn't really a future, no matter how bright of the game, where that isn't gonna be a feature. Like, I think it's too.
It can be alleviated. By having all of the coatings be cross-core, right? This is something that they are working on, right?
All right.
Cross-core customization. Like the most recent, drop pod update. Visors, like you can use all visors across all cores, which isn't big, but it's a step in the right direction that way. Realistically, customization should be reworked from the ground up, but if they can't do that, they can still make positive changes, such as that. And it was like, and they're gonna. I think they're moving towards having as much stuff be usable across all cores possible, right?
Yeah, which I think
Coatings is
once
number one
again,
for me though.
like once again, hooray, congratulations, thank you, but also shouldn't have been broken in the first place. Shouldn't have been that way
Exactly.
in the first place. Like it was such a dumb, ill-conceived
Always a
idea,
but.
which the only motive that you can visibly see for them making it for each individual thing was greed. I'm sorry, but that is the only visible motive. No one could have
Wait, for
pitched
what?
any
That was a
other
bit
reason for the like
muddled.
this
What do you mean
the
specifically?
like the individual. So you have to buy like blue for every different one individually, like that kind of thing. The only real reason why that would be a thing
Money.
is money. Yeah, because also the ones that you don't need to buy blue, they're in the season pass, and good luck getting through the season pass without spending money on it, or earning the actual cosmetics without spending money on it. Like it's just yeah, it's just money. Which everyone at the beginning of the game's release, I remember this, was like Microsoft. Microsoft did that. Like the fucked monetization of the game was Microsoft's fault, and that may be the case, but that doesn't get rid of it. It's still a shit game, even if it isn't 343's fault, and the rest is. So they're still not innocent. Like it's just I don't know. It's wild. I mean, they did. I think they reduced the price of the things in the store. I think.
Yeah, but it's still yes, but it's still very inconsistent.
Yeah.
Like the value of items is not consistent at all. And honestly, there's been things that I wouldn't mind buying, but I've never felt compelled enough. It's always the reasons of like, well, first of all, I don't really play the game enough.
Yeah,
I don't
which
like
is
it.
something they didn't seem to
I don't
understand.
like. I'll never like something enough really to buy credits for it. It's going to take a lot for that, and I don't really respect the game enough. It needs to be in a better. It's not necessarily a better place. It just needs to have a more secure future as a good
Which
game
is just
for me to want to
it's just
spend money on it.
it's just pretty wild that like I don't know that's just something they missed because even if that for it's not a good monetization scheme, but like the best or worst monetization schemes rely on the game it's on to be good.
Yeah.
Like if it's not good and no one's gonna play it or no one is playing it, it doesn't matter. No one's going to spend the money, no matter how good that fucking like scheme is or whatever. Like, no matter how generous you are, no one's going to be willing to spend that money on a game they're not playing. Like, even if they hop on every couple months for like a game and then remember, oh yeah, this is why I didn't play it, and then stop playing it. Like, that's how it is. And it's like once again bringing Deep Brook into this.
Well, they only started doing paid
like-
DLC once they'd earned people's trust.
Well, yeah, and I don't think it was inherently a coincidence that they were like, okay, yeah, now we got people in our pockets. They were just like, I think they were stepping up their game, right? Like literally, like it was entering like launch, wasn't it?
Right. So this is, I think, is an important thing
launch,
to
I think.
establish because obviously the first DLC, the supporter, that's basically a donation one, and it's been around for a while. But then, I think they introduced Dark Future and Megacorp at the same time as updates, and I can't remember if it was either when they introduced Deep Dives or 1.0, and it's not telling me.
Either way, their monetization isn't good. Like if like as a scheme, if your main goal is to steal as much money as possible because you want to earn money, it's a very bad way of doing it. Completely
they only
optional
started
cosmetic
on the launch
DLCs.
as well.
Yeah, completely optional cosmetic DLCs or like the supporter stuff, which is also just cosmetics, but like more directly saying, "Hey, can you please help us?" or "If you want to help us." Like for a company, like if 343 did that, no money would have been earned at all because nobody is willing to like invest in that kind of direct way. But because Deep Brook is just a good game with a solid future and a likable team behind it, you were more than willing to like hell yeah, like literally without a thought we just buy the fucking DLCs whenever they come out.
And
Speaking
also,
of, I might not be able to afford this time around.
What?
We'll find out then. I only have like £6, which I'm pretty sure they're normally like seven something, right? So we'll find out. Actually, my birthday's before then. It'll be fine.
Wow.
Yeah, but like literally without even a thought, we're like, yeah, let's buy it. Because not only do we want the cosmetics, let's not lie, kid ourselves. They're pretty nice cosmetics,
Let's
and
not
even though
skid
most
ourselves.
of the time, honestly, I don't really use them. Like they're about as
I
used
do.
as the other cosmetics.
I use them. I have to.
Oh yeah, Megacorp, or not Megacorp, the black one, the one that just makes things black. Dark Future. You just use that all the time. But
No, I don't. I only have like one loadout that uses it.
oh, I guess you used to then.
Oh right,
Probably 'cause there
except
wasn't as many.
the one where I have it with the fourth relic, but that's a more specific look. Either way, this is too specific. Supposed to be talking
But yeah.
about Halo.
Yeah, we just stopped talking about Deep Rock on our Deep Rock channel.
Well,
Point is,
we haven't got to a pretty big part we haven't gone to yet. But still, I need a piss.
okay, should we pause then?
Yeah. So
Alright.
you can hear my dad like moving bins around outside. My dad. Yeah, I live with
We
my
in a
dad.
second for you.
I just hit my knee on the desk. I resumed recording as well for when I hit my knee, and I'm gonna try and maybe introduce some positivity.
We've given them as much positivity as they deserve.
Well,
I
I mean,
don't-
no. What I'm talking about is now things that I'm actually kind of. There are a few things I'm looking forward to, like Forge, for example.
yeah.
And the free pass that's coming with the winter update, only because it's bringing with it all of the armor from Reach, so pre-existing armor that should have been in the first season, but still, it's
I
stuff
think
that
speaking
I
of
want.
armor, are you aware of what's happening to MCC right now?
Yes, I am. It's awesome.
Awesome.
It's not awesome because wait, what do you mean? What are you
They
talking
broke
about?
it.
What do you mean they broke it?
They broke it.
It's awesome. What's happened? What are you talking about? What's going on?
They were adding a bunch of armors, right? That was like a thing. And I think in doing so, I hear they broke it. They broke MCC.
Okay.
I'm
That's not good, is it?
I didn't really look much into it because I don't really care, but they just kind of mentioned it.
But I'm also looking forward to like the armor core that's coming in season 3, which I guess we're going to have to wait even longer for now. But it's the SPI armor core, which is like season 2 was the Rakshasa, which is basically like light armor. It's like leather almost and cloth and like put together by the Spartans themselves. It's basically
It's just wasters.
Waster.
Or wasters.
Or
but-
Roughneck or Robot Rebellion
Yeah.
from Deep Rock Galactic. But the SPI is more like old hardware. Like it's like the original Spartan suits, like from before, kind of before Master Chief, I think. It's basically just old tech, but it's still like actual proper hardware, and I just think that's cool. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, what's going on with... So what is wrong with the MCC? Nothing so far. It seems fine to
Sure.
me. But, yeah, speaking of the MCC, I was about to say something that they did right. It's not they didn't do it right. They actually didn't. It was a horrible launch, and it was fixed by like a separate... Not by a separate company, but by a separate team to who's working on Infinite. But that's important because of the next thing we need to talk about, because we haven't yet, and I've been avoiding it. I've been avoiding it because I'm a bit... okay, so I'm sure that if you're watching this because it's a Halo video, you know that Bonnie Ross left 343. Bonnie Ross being the head of 343 since its inception as well. So
I've learned something since we talked about it together. I mean, she was intending to leave after the winter update, but because of a family emergency,
Right,
she
okay.
left earlier.
So
she was
kind
going
of
to
makes
leave
me believe it actually.
anyway.
Right. So when we found out about this, I said to Tyler that I was a little bit... So, first of all, I'm not going to be insulting Bonnie Ross. I'm just going to be being real, right? And I'm also not going to be, I'm not going to encourage anyone to harass her. She's been getting enough of that. She's been getting enough of that. And I'm not going to insult her. She's not a villain. I'm sure she's a nice person. If she stepped away due to a family emergency, if that's true, then,
I hope her family is alive and well.
Careful. People have said some pretty horrible things, and
I know.
I'm not going to.
I've heard some of that, yeah.
And yeah. But I just found it suspicious that after she was getting all this backlash that she would step down. But there's obviously a chance that I think there's a higher chance that it is true, that it's due to the medical issue. But it's still suspicious to me, right? I'm not going to lie and say that it's not. I'm not going to avoid the fact that I thought about that.
It's interesting that, like, she was going to leave after the winter update. That she is leaving 343, which makes me think that she kind of was fired. Like, this shit was just too much.
Yeah, this is the thing, isn't it? So I think the winter update thing, that's more along the lines of what I mentioned. Well, I say when I broke the news. It's not really it's not breaking news to you, but still, when I told you about it, I thought maybe this is not necessarily her being fired, but an agreement for her to step down between her and Microsoft. I think that's what the winter update thing was, because it's more controlled, right, in that sense. So her sort of coming out of the blue makes me sort of believe the medical issue thing.
What does stepping down actually? It's just mean quits, right?
Yeah, just quitting. Yeah.
It's just a fancy word
but
for
stepping
it.
down in the control, I think it does usually mean you have a replacement in line, and I guess they already did.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like almost immediately after they announced, right?
Well, I think there might have been a day between, but he would have stepped in immediately, obviously, behind the scenes, but. They didn't announce it. It's just like, she's gone. This guy's here now. It's cool, man. It's cool. But it is pretty cool because the guy who's now the head of 343 is Pierre Heinz, who the main thing that's he does actually.
I like the name Pierre.
I do as well. So the main thing that's known about him in terms of his involvement is that he led the team that sort of fixed the MCC, basically. So, he's not the reason it had a bad launch. The only thing we know is that he's the reason it's good now. So that's a good sign, right? We can just as a baseline, we can point to this and say, this is probably a good thing, right? And this is the issue, though, with Bonnie Ross leaving in terms of the community response, is that I don't think anyone's got the right of this. I don't think anyone's on the right side, which it might be an inflammatory statement, but I'm not involved, but I see Halo Twitter in motion. It's not a nice place to be, and there's no one can really mediate. No one can actually. No one's right for some reason. It's either everyone's either insulting Bonnie Ross and it's sucking Pierre's dick, or they're saying
they're still calling for blood.
Or no. Or they're basically saying this hasn't changed anything. The problems with Infinite are still there. Bonnie Ross wasn't the problem. That's what I want to focus on, right? So I understand sort of defending Bonnie Ross from people who are harassing her, right? But the implication that the head of 343, since it started, is not one of the biggest reasons why the franchise in its current state is ludicrous. And her being replaced will probably have positive changes.
I think there'll definitely be changes, because that's the issue, right? Is that 343, since its conception, has basically been making the same mistakes over and over and over and over and over and over and over again.
I'm not saying she drove it into the ground. I mean, Microsoft probably had a big hand in it, and other people, but she was still the head of the company while it's being driven into the ground.
Who else could be? Because was there a different head at every single Halo game? Because I know there was 3 over Halo Infinite's lifespan, which is before it actually came out.
There are still important caveats. It's she never wrote any of the games, right? She never was creative director, but she was still the head of the company, right? I'd argue that the other guy...
She still hired the heads of those departments, right?
She's management.
She hired bad writers. She hired bad game designers.
Exactly.
Maybe not directly, but she's the biggest say in at least 343.
And this isn't like a character assassination. This isn't a hit piece. This is me just pointing out that the person who's been in charge while Halo's been going downhill probably had something to do with it going downhill.
Yeah, and if it goes even more, like, even gets even worse under Pierre's lead, then we'll point out the same shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's just
like,
a fact.
I've honestly, I've nothing but, first of all, I've got nothing but good things to say about this guy at the moment because he's done some good already, and the fact that he's got the balls to step in to this role. I respect that. Right?
And not because he's a man.
Right, so there's that theory about Bonnie Ross. I'm not going to bring up. I'm not Chris Reagan's theory. If you want to hear it, you can go to he's talked about it on a couple of his streams where he's playing Halo Infinite. He's got a theory about why Bonnie Ross wasn't fired. I'm not going to detail it because it's really weird.
This was before she was actually fired, right? Or it just there's this now
before she left.
Commented since
No, I don't know. I'm not up to date.
The Reagan law.
Yeah, on the Reagan law. Yeah, but still,
because technically she wasn't fired, right? Like, you could argue that this was either just them coming to a negotiation, or just them, because I don't think they're ever actually, for higher ups, no one ever calls them fired, right? No one ever fires.
That's true, right? But Microsoft could just fire her, and I don't think they were. I think they were probably pushing for her to step down. They were probably like, and that's why I think it was an agreement, and that's what her stepping down after the winter update was going to be. I think that's how it was meant to go, and it was probably a mutual agreement.
Because like the game's been in a bad state for a while. Halo franchise has been a bad state in a while, but I think you could argue it either was a family emergency which caused it to happen now, or the very explosive and sudden hatred towards the company in a very short amount of time.
In which case, it might have been her own health. Which honestly, I wouldn't. It's. I think there's a good chance of that, and I wouldn't, downplay the seriousness of that. In that position, I'd probably be a bit stressed, The
thing is, though, has anyone ever in the past really pointed the arrow at her? Everyone says 343.
Yeah.
But has anyone it's never been fire her? Right, that was never anyone's argument. Obviously, it's implied if you want to get rid of 343 as a company, but
and it is awkward because we don't want to be disrespectful, but at the same time, it's like looking back retroactively, if you wanted Halo to go in a better direction, we probably should have been calling for a change in leadership directly.
Because
unfortunately, fire Bonnie Ross would have been a more valid hashtag. And I hate saying that, but when it comes to actually saving the franchise, that would have been true at one point.
Well, the thing is, every other layer of the development of all of the games were different, right? Like, the management of the game directors were different, and the coders were definitely different because we know how they hired freelancers. Everything else about the company changed, constantly, right? And yet it was still consistently bad. Oh. If we pause play again.
Yeah. Go off. Come on.
Basically, I'm not sure about this. I haven't done the research. I don't care to do the research. I get really heated, and it's quite fun because I have no stakes. It's everything else has been changed, right? From Halo 4 onwards.
If you're a vampire, just let you know, Tyler has no stakes, so you can go after him and be safe.
Yeah, although I do really like garlic, so chances are I will have garlic. So
on your person.
Yeah, all given moments I have garlic. That's actually not true, but I do have salt. And isn't something salt, right? Like, some supernatural being doesn't like salt.
Yeah, demons. Just demons.
And snails.
And, they're the same thing, aren't they?
Apparently. They have the same weaknesses. Alright, yeah. But basically, every other part of, all the other games changed, right? There's no other thread in 343's failure other than the name 343 and her, right?
What?
Like, is there like a creative lead below her that has just
Yes.
always consistently been there?
Yes, it was Chris Lee. I mentioned him earlier. So Chris Lee was the creative lead on 4 and 5 and on Infinite until a certain point, and then was replaced with Joe.
To be honest,
So Chris
maybe
Lee
it was
also,
mostly him.
for the games themselves,
Yeah,
yes,
but
but the
he stuck
leadership
around for so long.
It's the leadership should be, it's their responsibility for the heads of a company to choose the right people for the job, and Chris Lee was
Yeah.
not the right person for the job.
Proves that in 4, right? Like, it was a pretty immediate dislike.
Yes, but they didn't stick to their guns either. Like, that's the problem with 5. It's this weird hybrid of them doubling back, but then even making even worse decisions. But if they just stuck with their guns, it would have been at least better than what it was. 4 was a departure, but they sort of, they got scared when the response wasn't overwhelmingly positive, I think, and they just shat themselves with 5. Yeah.
And then I guess halfway through Infinite, they came to the realization that maybe they, because maybe he was fucking up again in there.
Well, yeah, because obviously the reaction to Halo 5 was actually way worse than 4. Over time, Halo 5 sort of got a reputation for like having actually, even though it wasn't particularly Halo, people still respected its multiplayer in a way. It was like pretty big in esports as well. But the campaign was the dumpster fire. The story was actually, honestly, actually playing it is not terrible. It's actually pretty decent. It's better than 4, gameplay wise. But so yeah, I mean, they got scared again, I think, after Infinite, right? And they actually went off the rails. Like, there's a lot of stories about Halo Infinite's development and what it was going to be at certain stages in time, and how far along they got along with certain concepts. Like, it was going to be a hero shooter at some point, but supposedly that was never like in development. But there was like people had made very high like production value like concept videos, like showing off like the class system that I've seen actually.
Right.
And there was even like I don't think it was actually something they were doing, but when Joe came on board, he had to like shoot down the idea of like crafting in the campaign. It's like, what?
I think some people would definitely respect him for that, because crafting as a mechanic, I think, has its places.
Yeah, but
sometimes
not for the
it's
Master
really
Chief.
not even that, but just generally it's overused. And to have the goals to do that, that is a positive. I think that is to shut down a clearly bad idea, but it's a really common one to make. It kind of makes him stand out.
Well, they weren't sold on it.
Anything,
it was more like something that he crossed off like the list of ideas. It wasn't like they were making that, I don't think. But it was like it was still something that they were thinking about. It's like, no, just don't even think about it. What are you doing? Master Chief, when people heard about that, they were thinking, well, the Master Chief is going to like stitch together like leather shirts or something. Well, no, obviously, probably not. But Master Chief doesn't need to make anything. His armor's always going to be working. He doesn't need to eat, really.
Yeah, and he can very much deal with whatever he finds on the floor as well.
Yeah, weapons to just take what he can get. Like, it doesn't matter. He just does. He's the closest thing he's the closest you can get to a robot without actually being a robot or a cyborg, basically.
Yeah.
He's still technically a human.
I mean, he's just like a genetic robot, basically.
And the suit also. Well, this is actually, now we're going off not the deep end necessarily, but off the lore end, which wasn't really the purpose of this, but I still want to mention it. Like, he is a cyborg in certain ways. Like, he might be by definition, because like how the armor works.
Well, they wanted him to be, right?
What do you mean?
That was what Katana's. Because I did watch the synopsis of the show.
Right.
Review.
So ignore that, because that's not how it works. Katana isn't actually in his head.
Yeah, well, but in the show, and I don't know if this is true at all, but Katana was apparently made to basically control John. That's his natural name, right? And so he basically does become a cyborg.
No, it's not John.
That was kind of their goal.
Jimmy Rings. Um, yeah, I think she can. I think she can control the armor though, because how the armor works is that it is like linked to the chief like neurally. It's linked to his like his new. I don't know, his brain in some way, right? And basically, so the armor can basically predict what he's going to do, and then it's sort of like so it can move because the armor's so heavy. It has to. Even like Spartans aren't actually strong enough to move the armor on their own, so it has to be like linked to them, to their brain, so it can actually just copy their movements. Like the armor is motorized and copies the movements based on what they're thinking, and that's how they actually move in the armor. Because
It just made lighter armor. Like, it's a bit.
no, it can't be though to do what it does. I think it's like the shield systems and everything else, and like the very first like test runs, they tested the Spartan armor. First of all, it was on a normal human, and actually, I think they did they had like the neural link technology there, but they hadn't actually conceived genetically altering people yet. It started with the armor before like the super soldiers came about. It started with like power armor basically. But what happened is it just misread. Either it was malfunctioned or it misread his thoughts in some way, and basically the armor just the top half just spun around backwards with him in it. So that
At the fight of 87?
yeah, he basically got twisted in half by the armor. That was the first test of Spartan armor. It's a bit
And
like,
they were like, yeah, let's continue this. Let's keep this up.
yeah. Now I'm trying to think of how to like
I know it's a transition.
allegorize this, like as an allegory for Halo Infinite or something.
Halo Infinite
Well, like
is
infinite
like
failures.
a person
infinite
being
delays.
torn in
Hey.
half violently by a bad decision.
By a bad like coat of armor, like a bad suit, like a bad
A bad leader.
outer layer.
Ooh.
No.
But yeah, basically, it's actually interesting because I think most people that asked for Fire 343, the whole thing was under the idea that 343 has never and will never change. They will always proceed to make bad games, try and sometimes fail to make the games better after, and then proceed to make another bad Halo game and just continue to ruin the franchise.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
Meanwhile,
they won't change, as in they're always going to be around. So I've just accepted it.
Yeah, you've accepted it, which I think is why the removal of her, and not just her, but like what she kind of represented, at least, which is
Can I point out that's more that's very the reason I think that's a good thing is very specific. If they hired some rando, right, it wouldn't be like inherently positive. But I just think the leader of the company, while it's been not going badly, being replaced with someone who's done something good. That's a positive change. That's all.
Yeah, well, even then, just a change.
So there's reason for a slight. There's reason for a slight amount of optimism. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, which, in all fairness, though, I've not really seen people. I'm not seeing optimism. Like,
yeah,
I
but
think
no
you
one's
mentioned
been
it yourself.
insulting him either. No, it's slowly. It's slowing down, right? The hate.
Yeah,
things are calming down.
I don't think it's because of that. I think they just kind of fizzled itself out because there's not enough content to complain about.
Wow.
So it kind of but no, I think it does leave an actual like nicer taste in the mouth, like knowing that Fire 343 was never going to occur, but a new change in the top of tops of 343 should lead to at least a different result. Whether or not it's the future of Infinite or a new game, I think is up for anyone to see. I think it's interesting that they hired the person that is main credit is that he's fixed a terrible game.
Yeah.
Probably implies that they have no intentions of making a new Halo or a new Halo.
They want him to fix Infinite.
They very much intended Infinite being the next 10 years of Halo.
And unless Infinite's that foundationally broken, there's not much reason why you couldn't do it again.
Yeah, although as far as we've all seen,
it is foundationally broken.
It is. When apparently the UI is preventing you from adding stuff, you're fucked up. But I mean, that's just a theory, a game theory.
Yeah. What did he say after that? What did he say?
Thanks for watching.
Does it?
Yeah, I think so. It's a pretty safe bet. Yeah, I thought it had music, but that's normally at the beginning. I haven't watched it in a while.
I haven't watched Game Theory in ages.
Once people pointed out how annoying he was, I'm like, you know what? He is, and I just stopped watching.
Well, I realised once the it's his name, the YouTuber, some black guy, pointed out that MatPat is like a robot programmed to mimic charisma.
Yeah.
He's like a charisma. He's not naturally charismatic. He's like learned how to be, and it doesn't work for me, at least. But this isn't about that. What were we saying? Fuck.
I think we were kind of wrapping up, to be honest. I think that's kind of why I did that bit, because I felt that we have covered most of everything. I mean, obviously, you know, we can't really cover what isn't in the game. I mean, you know, alluded to it, but you know, I think at this point in time,
well, we know what isn't in the game is infection,
everything people want,
career progression, Forge. Yeah. Well, Forge is coming soon.
And career progression, but I think that is the thing. I think and you agree with this as well. But like this winter update, or even like season 3, that at that point in time, I think not just the fan base, but the company as a whole will evaluate whether or not there's a future in Infinite. Because at that point in time, if Forge is in the game, if co-op campaigns in the game, if there's another progression system, if it's still dead, it can never be revived.
Yeah, but
it can't come back from that.
But it's the things that they've said is the reason why my hope is ever so slightly rekindled. The fact that they do actually seem more confident and that they think season 3 will be a good like new start is the reason why I'm sort of backtracking on my complete apathy, right? And it's sort of like, okay, well, if they're saying that, because they haven't said something like this before, so I might as well.
Yeah. Although that's the issue.
You might as well see if they're right.
The issue is that their words do have very little meaning.
But that is why season 3 is something I'm going to, you know, be looking at. But it it probably would be the last straw for me because, that's sort of it's the deciding point, I guess. Really.
Yeah, because I mean, at that point in time, you know, I don't know. It's just that's it. You know what I mean? Like all the content that people want are in the game, and if that still isn't enough, then there's just nothing you can really do.
If the thing they're actually confident about falls flat, then I'll lose hope entirely. But it's the fact that they're confident about it and haven't been before that I'm willing to wait for that.
Yeah, I think that's also something they need to pay attention to because they might be relying on their, not you, but like the general populace. If they added Forge, co-op campaign, everything everybody wants, and nobody's still playing their game, they need to come to the terms with it. They are not pulling a No Man's Sky. Because even No Man's Sky, once they started adding features people wanted, people started playing, right? And then it grows and grows, and now it's like huge. But like, so huge. It's probably like an 80 game, like player based content. Point is, it's like people started playing more the more content they added, and if they add a bunch of content but nothing really changes, then it's just never going to happen. It's just. It's too much.
The problem with that is you kind of, because it's going to happen eventually, you kind of have to give it until the Battle Royale.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, though.
Because it's going to happen, right? Because it's going to happen, so you can't not give it until then.
That's the thing, though, is they need to say, they need to outwardly say, we're working on a Battle Royale mode. Please, for the love of God, give us that. Give us until then. Because that's the thing as well. Like, I've really not the experience of this. This is, like, directly people that interact with 343 as, like, a YouTuber or content creator. 343 acts like it's really open with the community and that it's, like, really, like, out there, but they're not.
It's not.
Okay, literally,
it's not.
They come out. Literally, he called it a cocoon. They come out of their cocoon. They do things like this. They announce stuff. They talk about stuff, and then they're gone. They're gone. They're dark. They're
not actually transparent.
Yeah, they absolutely they go rogue as hell. Like they will not tell you anything until literally the day after it's due. They are cowardly in how much they disappear from the community.
I mean,
Like,
I'd be scared of them, to be honest. They're
no,
vicious.
yeah, but like, canceling that the day after it was due was a cowardly act. They were, it's just
That's
screw
his
'em.
words, not mine.
But like, yeah, basically, um, they are a lot worse than Ghost Ship games, and that is why
Hey.
DRG wins over Halo Infinite. Thank you all for watching. Um, it's getting very hot, and my family's home, so I want to open my
Damn it.
door.
I had something to say. Genuinely, though. I forgot. Oh, brain power, brain power, brain power. Uh,
Backtrack your thoughts. Grab the last thought you thought of, and then work your way like from there again. That's what I like doing.
it was something. I think it was something to do with the battle royale. Oh no. Oh right, yeah, I remember now. So about Chris Reagan again, right? Because he's got very good reason to be angry. Like he should actually be way angrier than he is, because he knows quite a few people from 343, right? And he'd been in contact with them like all throughout Halo Infinite's development, right? Just because he knows them, right? Not because he like had them. He didn't know them so he could get information out of them. He just knows these people, so he's gotten stuff like just over the years, like signs about how things are going at 343, and he sort of actually knows a fair bit about like the development, like for example before Joe Staten came on board, and he actually doesn't really want to tell people what he knows. Like even if he could, I don't think he would. That's sort of the impression I get. The point is, he's been giving them advice basically through these people that he knows for years, like since before Halo Infinite started. He's basically just been telling them, trying to tell them what to do, and they haven't done a single thing he suggested basically. And he just constantly rants about how he would like do it for free, like he'd be like the game's creative director for free, and he's like supremely confident that it would have turned out better as well.
I think that's
Because he might not be a good creative director, but he still knows what the game should and shouldn't have.
That's the thing, is that there needs to be like just a member of the community or just the voice of the community, and I'm not talking like some fucking communist shit. I'm talking an actual voice, like Chris Reagan. Like he will be direct, like, because it also his career would depend on that. Even if he's like paid for free for that, like if
Paid for free.
Yeah, if he does a bad job about voicing what the community wants, his channel would get fucked over that, right? Like he would directly be held accountable by the community to voice their opinions correctly. And then let's assume he will, because I think he's basically, I mean, if he's in contact with 343 directly, he's our best shot at that, right? Like,
Yeah.
But like if he accurately and will be forced to convey the opinions of the community, and he's high up, like he what he says matters.
Yeah, but apparently he couldn't actually get hired because of the bad things he said about them. I don't know how that works, but he said that he's basically he said that they actually they just wouldn't hire him. Like as in it's not like he's like friends with like the people in charge. He just knows a few people who are actual, not like the third party people, like actual 343 employees, but no one like high up. But he still knows things.
It's not that weird. It's kind of weird because 343 was founded by people that hated Halo or like disliked Halo as a game and tried to like change it. But yeah, apparently hating the Halo that they make, or hating, because does he actually hate on them as a company? He probably doesn't, right? Like he just directly attacks the game.
No, he kind of says things that you say, so like how they've been allowed to get away with this, like things like that,
right?
For so long.
I guess they just got a bit of an ego,
but he still likes the game a lot.
Yeah. So basically, I think that really they do need to do that. They just need to actually because just having someone that is so clearly on the side of the community be very openly up the top of 343, that would immediately do it. Like people will hold out hope, knowing that someone with power agrees with them. But as far as they're concerned, everyone at the top has there's no communication there. They have no input as to like the community can change or influence anything.
Well, that's
or
probably one
vice
of the
versa.
best things about the new guy, though, is that if he was responsible for fixing the MCC, that means that he's someone who not only does he care, but he seems like he would be more involved in like the creative aspect.
But
of
even
it,
then,
unlike
that
previous
is
leadership.
that is implied.
Yes,
right?
that's true.
We don't know if he knows what's best for Halo. We just know that he's good at fixing MCC, which can be assumed that means he knows what's good for Halo. But it's still, and maybe that might change as Infinite develops, and then he'll lose touch, and then rinse repeat. Which is why bringing it back. I mean, I've kind of finished the video twice already at this point, Harry, for God's sake. But that's why Ghost Ship Games is also really cool, because it really most of the time the community is heard. Like the fact
sometimes a bit too much.
Well, yeah, the fact that they are so openly anti-robots of it. Well, thing is, actually saying that, right? As a company, they're like, no more robots. We're toning down the robots. But even then, the fact that they are willing to admit they might come back means that, like, sure, we agree with you, they were a mistake, but also, fuck you, we like their idea, they might come back. Yeah, like if we feel like coming back to them, we will. You can't really change that, but we do agree with you that this was a mistake. That not being what they said, but like a implication of it, is why they're like so kind of good. That the voice of the community, whether or not it is good, as you mentioned, is felt, right? And sometimes it feels like. Sometimes it falls upon deaf ears. Sometimes it isn't. Like that's also with the amount of Q&As they do. Like obviously there was the anniversary stuff, which felt a lot more official, a lot more open. But like dev streams, people could just ask them questions and they'll get an answer. Obviously the answers are vague because as a company they don't know exactly what they're doing in the future and they're not exactly knowledgeable about what they can and can't do physically. But like. They can answer your questions. Like people, the biggest thing, new dwarf. They're like, no, not really. We can't see we're probably not going to do that. So people have got an answer, right?
All the Halo fans listening are really confused right now.
Yeah, they're like, no, the Halo fans are not confused because they don't understand what we're saying. But like, they're confused because like, wait a minute, you can communicate with the higher ups of this company that make a game. That's obscene. That's wild. And it's also something because 343.
Remember, they are closer to the ground. I don't know what's preventing.
Should they though?
No, but I don't know what. When it comes to a AAA developer, I don't know how much they are actually. Like what differences there are and how much they're allowed to interact.
Harry,
I don't know what differences the major publishers have on that aspect of things.
How is 343 a AAA developer? Because they make only one game, and that game is currently free to play. And like if they were, they're not anymore. They are about as on the same level as like Deep Rock Galactic. Deep Rock Galactic, you have to pay to play their game. So it's like, I don't know. Like, I know that's not really the argument because of it. Whatever makes like Apex and Titanfall, they would still come under AAA, I guess. Well, would you consider them AAA?
It is AAA.
Or Apex to be AAA?
Yeah, Apex is AAA.
But yeah, it's just like it's only really the number of people that is the difference between those companies. But for some reason, that makes it seem like that 343 is allowed to be distant from their community. Like, for some reason, the more employees they hire...
No, I'm just saying... I'm talking about Microsoft specifically. I don't know how much they're involved in publicity. And, like, I don't know if they have I don't know if they sort of impose, like, a cap on how open their developers can be. I don't know. That might be a thing. That's all I'm saying. But I feel like...
Maybe.
Like, Ghost Ship, like, they got acquired recently, but who they got acquired by is, like, very hands-off. And that shows because they're allowed to be as open as they want to be still.
Who acquired them?
I don't know. A different publisher, or just a bigger group acquired. I think they must have acquired Coffee Stain. I think someone acquired Coffee Stain.
Right, yeah.
But they're very hands off. So Ghost Ship are basically still allowed to be as open as they want. I think there probably is a limit on how open FIFA 3 is allowed to be, especially considering the type of development they've had.
Hell.
Yeah,
Like, because that's the thing as well. If they get any more open, then people are going to see them for the evil that they are. Like, you know, you can only really put on
a
a
more pity
friendly
than
face.
anything if we actually know everything.
Well, the little bits we do know, it tells nothing but a bad story, and it's just, yeah, it's just rip. But it's also, I don't know, it's just interesting how kind of similar Deep Rock and Halo Infinite is.
Yeah, this was the main thing we were going to talk about with Deep Rock.
I mean, really, this was just an excuse to rant about Halo.
Well, the developments are pretty like
they're lined up.
coincided. Yeah, but not anymore.
Yeah.
Well, this was going from Deep Rock, not even Deep Rock 1.0 actually, because Deep Rock essentially rebranded itself as a live service game, even though it kind of already was. They sort of introduced seasons like over a year after 1.0.
Yeah.
And they were like, we're doing a seasonal model now, and it started, when Halo Infinite came out. So that was season 1 of Deep Rock and season 1 of Halo Infinite started at the same time. Season 2 also started at the same time for both games. Season 3 for Deep Rock will start when the winter update comes out for Halo. So now Halo is actually falling behind. That's what we were getting.
The thing is, though, is that like if Deep Rock continues to post seasons the same way they kind of are, Halo will overtake them. If they do what they say. If once season 3 comes out, it's only going to be like 3 months.
Halo should have been overtaking them inherently. That's the thing.
I know. That's why Halo is as shit as it is. But considering it's getting outpaced by an indie company, it's like,
and it's Halo, man. Like they say, like we had to redistribute resources from co-op campaign, even though it's basically done. And yet you're like one of the biggest franchises in gaming history under Microsoft. What do you mean you don't have enough resources?
Yeah, you're one of the most monumental IPs in history in gaming, funded by the biggest gaming company. I think Microsoft is just bigger than Sony.
I think they're the biggest publisher. Yeah,
like Microsoft is insanely huge, and they are directly funding your own pockets. There's no middle thing like how Coffee Stain is now in between this company.
That's why I have to question what is Microsoft actually giving them.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like they're giving them much.
and I think it's just like if Microsoft isn't funding them that much anymore, it's only because 343 fucked up in the first place and just kept making bad games and getting away with it. So
Microsoft is bleeding 343 out basically.
So it's just
instead of axing them, they're just letting them bleed out. That's what it feels like sometimes. Oh dear.
Only now, I don't know. They might be funding a bit more into it. I mean, I don't know. It's either or. I think the changing of heads implies they're going to try and fix 343 rather than axe them. But we can only see. But as far
I'd love it if Pierre Heinz just showed up to the studio and was just like, he took one look at the roadmap and he like drop kicked like the whiteboard. It's like, fuck that, we're doing this. And it's just like, what do you mean we're doing what? We're doing what? We're scrapping the live service model? It's like, yes.
Mate, we're scrapping Infinite. It's out of here.
We're making space battles the game.
Yeah.
That's what he wants. Which honestly,
like Chorus 2.
If he gets his way, if Pierre Heinz gets his way, I think he'll probably end up pushing for another spin-off, and he's probably going to be one of the reasons we get another game, because he's mentioned that he likes the idea of a Halo space battle game, and the fact that Chorus is so good,
he might have to earn that.
Yeah,
because I think because I imagine there's just as many people that was qualified for the job as he was, but he is the thing that he was. Well, I don't know, but the thing that he was the head of the team that just fixed MCC, right? Yeah. They could have hired outside of Halo for like actual maybe equal talents in the business. Right?
No, he's definitely more for the job than most people. He's one of the few leadership figures who's done Halo some good.
Exactly.
Been around.
But, and it's just so they want him to fix Infinite and fix Halo. That is their job right now. There isn't to get new blood into the system. They just want the blood to work. And then just they're in repair mode right now, as in putting him on the top. And hopefully he can provide. So far, he has shown that he is capable of it, but it may take some
obviously,
time.
nothing's come out. You know, I assume he hasn't. You know, there's no way he's gotten any changes have been made yet. You know.
Yeah. I mean,
it'd be hilarious though if they come out in a few weeks for a revised roadmap, but it's just Pierre himself, and it's just I killed everyone at 343. It's just me. It's just me. I'm alone. But you know what? It's gonna be good, guys.
Yeah, I'm doing all the code now. It may take a bit of a while.
I do, for 343's sake, hope that Pierre doesn't just completely reorient everything, because they can't actually do with those people who say that it's all false promises being proved right. Because that means the recent roadmap will be completely invalidated, even if it's based on good decisions. It being invalidated will be a bad look.
If Pierre is as wise as we're assuming he is, just because he's new, he will probably take a look at it and he'll be like, "We are doing everything on here, and then we're doing what I want."
That's how it should be, really.
Yeah, he needs to be like. Also, because all that content on the list as a whole is Forge and like co-op campaign and like an actual progression system. That shit is like a no-brainer. There should be no cutting needed there. The other stuff, people will only dislike because they were promised. And I think he needs to be aware of that and just leave them in anyway. Get that shit pumped out. Especially if, as you say, they're basically already done, right?
Yeah.
And then once all the stuff that he's promised is out of the way, and he now has an entire whiteboard to come up with his own stuff with no promises tying him down, that is when we're going to see the new era of Halo. Whether or not that's going to be bad or not, I don't really care.
Well, yeah, that's the
and
thing.
I think that's my takeaway. I don't actually care that much whether or not Halo comes out of the gutter, because at this point in time, the monolith that it was is dead. It doesn't hold that much sentimentality in the gaming verse at all. Anyone that did fall in love with it, they have had their heart broken, and there isn't much more you can do about it.
I haven't. My heart hasn't been broken.
Yeah,
I don't really like the 343 stuff. And yeah, I also have nostalgia for the originals that I didn't play before 343 was involved. But anyway, in conclusion, it's kind of baffling that they've gotten this far.
DRG's winning.
DRG is winning, but Halo might be on the rebound.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Which is better than the so far no rebound that we were looking at. It just looked worse and worse. But now there is actually signs of a reason to think it might get good.
Only because changes have been made. The actual nature of those changes is yet to be proven as good or bad, but there have been significant changes, and the effects of those will be something to take note of.
And DRG, it looks to be about as you know, as good as we thought. Well, I actually have seen some people that aren't fond of the new boomerang thing.
Yeah, they were saying like, "Oh, this looks like a weak, pathetic piece of shit. It's not going to dethrone IFGs." I saw that. That was hilarious.
I actually saw that. I think people in the comments were like, "Oh."
Beg your pardon?
I do think, I think that is going to be interesting, and I feel like that's a topic for another day. Thank you all for watching for like the third time, but third time's a charm. This has been the Barrelvision podcast, which we have never actually specified is directly about Deep Rock Galactic. So this was us expanding out. Well, technically tying it into DRG.
Because of, by the way, because of Tyler, I wasn't going to mention I wasn't going to have Deep Rock in the title originally, because I just wanted to go for it. And just not talking about Deep Rock.
In all fairness, it made some correlations work. Like that was kind of naturally.
Oh yeah, and we've discussed these things before. We've made these comparisons just while talking. Yeah. So,
which is kind of what this is, because we do just have these conversations just generally.
Although this is slightly less domestic violence involved here.
Yeah, I normally beat Harry around the side of the head,
and I'd
screaming
throw a
about how terrible
at
Halo
him.
is. Yeah. It gets like caught. I get my head stuck in the microwave, and he turns it on, and it just like
How?
and then my head detonates.
Yeah, I used a
like
wave
it.
cooker on him.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to end this before it gets to 2 hours. I hope you enjoyed this. Also, hold on. Rock and I need a weapon.